What does it mean for a set to be in one piece? The notion of connectedness makes this precise. Let's start with an example. Suppose I have a set. I have a set AB singleton set. Not singleton set, two element set. AB and R. If A is not equal to B, then clearly this set seems disconnected. Connectedness is supposed to capture the intuitive idea that the set is in one piece, and I'm giving you a set which has two different pieces, the piece that contains A and the piece that contains B. Okay, now thinking further, suppose I have two sets AB and CD, closed intervals such that B is strictly less than C. Okay, so on the real line I have AB like this and CD like this. Okay, so notice that this set is also in two pieces. This set is also in two pieces, and any notion of connectedness should say that this set is disconnected. It's not in one piece. Now let's see a third example which is much more intuitive. Let's take the set 0, 1, and let me take the set 1, 2. Both are open sets, okay? So these two should be touching each other, in fact. Would you say this set is connected or disconnected? Well, it is actually disconnected. Why would you want to think that it's disconnected? Well, think of it this way. Say you are standing here. And you run along this. Set. To go from this piece of the set to this piece, you will have to cross this bridge. And that particular point, that bridge is of actually 0 dimension. It has no width, no height, no nothing. It's just a single point, but nevertheless it is there. You cannot move from this set to this set without crossing over to a point which is not there in this set. So you want this set 0, 1 union 0, 1, 2 to be also disconnected. Okay, now let's see a final example. Let's take 0, 1 again. But this time let's include the bridge. Let's take 1, 2. Now, would you say this set is connected? Well, actually it is. I can just rewrite this set as the set 0, 2, right? I can rewrite the set as the set 0, 2. Forget that bridge in between. Okay? So therefore, to make precise the notion of connectedness, it's a good idea to take into account all these 4 examples and come up with a definition that captures all of it. So the following definition does exactly that. Definition: a set R. Why do I use R? A set S. Subset of R is connected. If it cannot, so the definition itself has a negative in it. If it cannot be written as a union of sets A union B with A closure intersect B equal to empty set and B closure intersect A equal to empty set, but A comma B are both not empty. Okay, So what we require of a connected set is you're not allowed to write this set as a union of two pieces such that neither of these two pieces sort of touch each other. And touching each other is captured by saying that A closure intersect B is empty and B closure intersect A is empty. If both of these happen, neither of these two sets touch each other. Now let's think about what this definition is saying in the examples that we have considered. Clearly the set A comma B, the singleton set A comma B is disconnected because you can write it as the singleton set A union the singleton set B. And similarly for this union of two disjoint closed sets. Okay. Now look at this thing. Obviously you want to take A to be 0, 1 and B to be 1, 2. A closure is closed 0, 1 and B closure is closed 1, 2, and you still observe that A intersect B closure and A closure intersect B as both both empty still. Now in the final example where we had taken open 0, 1 but closed 1, 2, now note that 0, 1 closure will be closed 0, 1, which actually intersects the set B, which is having the left endpoint as an element of the set. So the fourth set would be connected by this definition. Okay. So elaborating upon this definition even more, two sets A comma B are said to be separated if A closure intersect B and B closure intersect A are both empty. Okay. And such a thing, taking a set and writing it as A union B, where A and B are separated sets, is called a separation. This is called a separation of S. Okay. And needless to say, a set that is not connected is said to be disconnected. Okay. So connectedness intuitively captures the fact that the set is in one piece. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to state a theorem that classifies all the connected sets in the real line, and the statement of the theorem is a bit long-winded because I'm going to state several equivalent characterizations. Let S subset of R be a non-empty set. Then the following are all equivalent. Number 1, S is connected. Number 2, any function, any continuous function f from the set S to the collection 0, 1 is constant. Suppose you have a set that is in one piece and you have a continuous function from that set S whose range, or rather the codomain, is just the set 0, 1. 0, 1 note is a subset of R. So essentially what I'm saying is the codomain is R. However, the range of that function is contained within the set 0, 1 is a constant function. So what it's intuitively trying to capture is that if I have a continuous function on a set that has only one piece, there is no way that the value of the function can jump from 0 to 1 as you move across the set. It's not possible for the function to take two distinct values and only those two values alone. Third condition that will be more geometric. This third condition, if a comma b is there in the set S, then the closed interval AB is a subset of S. Okay, this is entirely believable. If it were not the case that AB is entirely there in the set S, then what that means is that there is some hole in between, and as you walk along the set, you're going to fall down in that hole. The set is not in one piece. Okay, proof. To show that several things are equivalent, I have to show that 1 implies 2, implies 3, implies 4. Sorry, there is no 4, implies 1 again. Okay, let's start. So suppose S is connected. And f is a function. F is from S to 0, 1. Okay. Now, we want to say that the value of this function cannot jump. So what we do is we define A to be the set F inverse of set with 0 and B to be the set that is F inverse of set with 1. Okay, we define these two. Now clearly A union B is the set S. Okay, clearly A union B is the set S. Now suppose A closure intersect B is non-empty, or why do I want to do that? I don't want to say that. What I'll do is the following. Suppose X belongs to A closure intersect B. Okay, then X is certainly an element of S, right? X is certainly an element of S because it's an element of B in particular. Note why I need to take the intersection with B to assert that it's an element of S is simply because if I take an X in A closure, there is no guarantee that that element X will be in the set S also, right? Because I'm taking intersection with B, it follows that X is an element of S. Okay, let Xn converge to Xn in A. There will be such a sequence because X is coming from the closure. In particular, X has to be an adherent point. Therefore, f of Xn converges to f of X by continuity. This is just continuity. All right. Now, since f of Xn is 0, it follows that f of X is 0. Therefore, X is not in B. Okay. Therefore, X is not in B, which is a contradiction. All right. So what we have shown is that A closure intersect B has to be empty. Similarly, B closure intersect A is empty by the exact same argument. So so we get a contradiction. Unless one of A or B is empty. right? The definition of connectedness says that you cannot write it as the union of two sets A union B which are both non-empty and such that A closure intersect B is empty and B closure intersect A is empty. That cannot be done. But since we are writing S as A union B with A closure intersect B and B closure intersect A both empty, the only possibility is one of A or B is empty. This is just saying F is constant. A very, very fancy way of saying F is constant. Okay, so 1 implies 2 was fairly easy. Now let's do 2 implies 3. Let's do 2 implies 3. Okay, so suppose every function from S to 0, 1, every continuous function, of course. Crucially, I had used continuity, and here also let me just for extra clarity write continuous function. Continuity was crucial in the argument. Suppose every continuous function from S to 0, 1 is constant. Okay. Now take points A comma B. Take points A comma B in S such that close interval AB is not a subset of S. Okay, so I'm assuming that 3 is false and I'm going to end up with a contradiction. Okay, now what you do is the following. Let R in closed AB be such that R is not in S. Okay, then consider the two sets. Consider the two sets A comma B. A is defined to be S intersection minus infinity to R, and B is defined to be S intersection R infinity. Okay, both A comma B are non-empty. Why is that? Because A is in A and B is in B. That's the way this set A and B have been constructed. Okay, define F from S to 0, 1 by F of X is 0 if X is in A and it's 1 if X is in B, right? The continuity of F is obvious. It's just constant on two pieces. The continuity of F is obvious, and this violates 2. So if every function from the set S to 0, 1 is constant, then it is impossible for 2 points A and B to be there in S, but some point in between A and B to be absent. Okay, so this proof was also fairly easy. Now 3 implies 1. Okay, so suppose we have that if A comma B in S, then closed interval AB is also in S. Okay, I have to show that the set is connected. Okay, suppose S is not connected. Okay, and let S be equal to A union B with A not empty B not empty, but A closure intersect B is empty and B closure intersect A is also empty. Suppose we are in this situation. Now what you do is pick points A in A and B in B. This can be done because both the sets A and B are non-empty. The closed interval AB is definitely a subset of S, right? Simply because that's our hypothesis 3, right? Now what we do is we look at A intersection this AB, okay, and take supremum of that. Take supremum of A intersect AB, call it S. Call it S. Now observe the following. This S is definitely an element of A closure, right? I want you to think about why this is the case. It's fairly easy. S is an element of A closure. Not only that, S is of course going to be an element of closed AB. Okay? S is going to be an element of closed AB. Now note that A closure intersect B is empty. Why? That's the hypothesis. Therefore this S is not equal to B. Okay? S is not going to be equal to B. So S is strictly less than B. S is strictly less than B. Okay? This means S plus epsilon whenever epsilon is strictly less than B minus S, this has got to be an element of B, right? So a picture will illustrate what is going on better than me trying to convince you using words. We have this AB. We have some portion of this thing which is supposed to be A. I'm looking at the extreme most point of the set A, that is going to be the supremum of A intersection AB, and that I'm going to call it capital S. Okay? Now what I'm saying is if you choose epsilon to be less than this, then S plus epsilon has to be in B. Simply because the set capital S is A union B and this closed interval A comma B is subset of S, right? Fine. So what does this show? This shows that this closed set S comma B is going to be a subset of B closure, right? It's going to be a subset of B closure. In fact, with the exception of S, so that means this open SB, this has to be contained in B. No choice, because that it cannot be in A. It cannot be in A. Okay. Now, what does this tell us? There are only two possibilities. Suppose S belongs to A. Well, this implies A closure intersect B, okay, or rather let me take A intersect B closure will definitely contain the element S. On the other hand, if S is in B, then A closure intersect B will definitely contain the element S. Okay? So which means all possibilities lead to a contradiction. Okay? This shows that S has to be connected. Excellent. So the proof was a bit long because we want to characterize connectedness in several ways, but nothing in this proof was really difficult. Let me now state a corollary that will characterize all the sets in R that are connected. Corollary. This corollary is an immediate consequence of the previous theorem, and I'm not going to write down the details. Please do that for yourself. Let S subset of R be non-empty, then S is connected means either number 1, S is a singleton set, number 2, S is AB, an open set where A or B or both could be infinite. That means A could be minus infinity, B could be plus infinity, A could be minus infinity, B could be 0, A could be some fixed number, B could be plus infinity. So you got what I'm trying to say. 3, it's a closed interval AB, A comma B in R. So the only connected sets are open intervals, closed intervals, and singleton sets. Of course, taking A to be minus infinity and B to be plus infinity in 2 shows that the whole of R itself is connected. So this corollary is very straightforward to prove from the previous previous theorem. Okay, so in the next module, we shall see the application of this concept of connectedness to prove the intermediate value theorem. This is a course on real analysis, and you have just watched a module on connected sets.